Hello and welcome back to Afterglow episode 80, where on this episode we're going to be tackling what I think is the first arcade game on this show, although the game I'm talking about was ported to the Sega Saturn, at least overseas. I don't think it ever came to North America. But anyway, we will be talking about X-Men Children of the Atom, which was a Capcom arcade fighting game, which, to me, this is a game that birthed the entire Marvel vs. Capcom thing. And it is included in the Marvel vs. Capcom collection that has recently come out. And I love this game, even though I never played a legitimate version in the arcade. But we'll go into my story of this game after our music break. Welcome back. So whenever this game first came out, it was an arcade-only game, and honestly, I never saw it in my area and never got to play it. That being said, a few years later, I built my first MAME machine, and this thing was really cool. I built a PC specifically for the MAME machine. At the time, it was like a 1 gigahertz CPU. I believe it had like an 80 gigabyte hard drive in it. Voodoo 3DFX 3 graphics card, and the original X Arcade dual stick. But whenever I built this system, I got a copy of the MAME set for the time, which I think is like 0.62. This is way back when, I want to say 2001, 2002. And back then, the easiest way to get MAME ROMs, especially if you were like me and still on a dial-up connection, was through, not really an online ordering service, but more or less you would pay someone a nominal fee, and they would ship you the ROMs all burned to CD or DVD. So, I believe at the time it was like $10 or $15, so again, you're not really paying too much, and you get your copy of all of the ROMs. So, of course, that being said, I'm going through the games, and there's so much, right? But one of the games that I wanted to check out was all the X-Men games. And I wanted to replay the old X-Men arcade game again, which I'll cover in a later episode, but I'm here like, what's Children of the Atom? And I loaded up, and it's the game that we're talking about today. So, no, I've honestly never legally had a copy of this game until this recording. This month, actually, the Marvel vs. Capcom collection came out, and I did finally buy it and legitimately get it, but until then, well, I mean, the only way I played it was, well, you know.
Do what you want, 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate!
I mean, how else was I supposed to play the game? It's not like there was a console version or anything, at least I know of. Maybe it did come out in PlayStation. Actually, join me. Let's Google this real quick, shall we? Did this game come out on the PlayStation? Okay, so, yeah, there actually was a PlayStation 1 version, although the reviews say it's definitely inferior to the original arcade and even to the Japanese Saturn port. But yeah, I guess I could have legally gotten it if I would have dug around a little bit. Let's ignore that though, shall we? Anyway, got the game and started playing it a bit, and one cool thing about it is not the character selection is kind of small, right? There's only 10 players, or 10 selectable characters, mind you, but you get a decent selection of both the villains and the heroes from the X-Men series. You've got Colossus, you've got Cyclops, you've got Iceman, you've got Omega Red, Psylocke, a Sentinel, the Silver Samurai, Spiral, which I thought was a interesting choice, and Storm, and then finally Wolverine. I normally played as Wolverine. I did toy about with Cyclops a little bit. I enjoyed playing as Cyclops, and a little thing here, whenever I was younger, Cyclops was probably my favorite of the X-Men. It's kind of morphed over more to Wolverine in my later years, but I still have a soft place in my heart for Cyclops. But Cyclops felt a bit slow in this game, and I really preferred Wolverine's speed, and I feel like Wolverine has a smaller hitbox. But that being said, it was really cool to play an X-Men game where I had more or less all of their powers available at will. Cyclops, of course, could fire his concussive laser optic beams just whenever he wanted to. Wolverine, always with the claws unsheathed and whatnot. More or less what I'm saying is most of the X-Men games I played before this, NES version, anyway, you didn't really have access to their powers a whole lot. Or if you did, like let's say the Genesis version, using the powers would actually like drain your health or something. So it was nice to be able to play an X-Men game to where you just had free use of their mutant powers. The music in this game was incredible too. I threw 2 tracks in for the intro music track, but you can tell this is a Capcom game. The music does have kind of a Mega Man sound to it rather than X-Men sound to it. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the music in this game is absolutely stunning. The one caveat I will say though, the game can be pretty difficult, at least for someone like me who I'm a casual player of fighting games for the most part. And at the time, I was used to playing, Tekken and Tekken 2. That's more or less what I had for my PlayStation 1 back home before I built this main cabinet. And this game was hard. Like, I could usually get through the first fight and maybe the second fight, but then I would get stomped on the third fight until I was a bad person again. And MAME has a cheat menu that you can enable, and you can more or less cheat in the game and give yourself infinite health. That's the only way I could beat this game. So I turned on the infinite health cheat and got to the final boss, which is Magneto, and Magneto is a beast in this game. He is such a struggle, but it's so cool that your X-Men ended up going to Avalon to take out Magneto, and every character does have a unique ending. So it is definitely worth your while to go through and beat the game with every character. And some of them are good endings, some of them are bad endings. Some of them are really interesting, like the Sentinel ending. That's dark. But the game is absolutely a blast to play, and it's like the genesis for those Marvel vs. Capcom games. And later on, I became like a huge fan of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And the third game as well. I remember when the third game came out, I played it in probably the strangest place possible, the PS Vita. But I would not have gotten that game if it wasn't for X-Men Children of the Atom. And I honestly thought we would never see an official release for this game again, just because of how much it would cost to get the license, 'cause I'm sure Disney has that in lockdown. But then, early this year, the collection was announced that included this game, and it was an instant add to the wish list, need to buy this game. And of course, it comes with most of the other games of the Marvel vs. Capcom, early stuff at least. I believe all the way up through Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It doesn't include 3 or, I believe the 4th one's called Infinite. But everything else is included, plus the Punisher. So if you want to play this game, be sure to pick up that collection, because in my opinion, it's a must-buy. not only for this game, but for everything else included. But it's really cool to see the genesis of those games, especially with such a reduced roster, because like the Marvel vs. Capcom games now, they're known for their huge, like, 32 playable character rosters and whatnot. That was really cool to see one with only 10 playable characters. It's easier to kind of learn in a way because you're not having to anticipate and learn all these other characters and how they can attack you and how they can defend against you. You've only got 9 other characters that you kind of got to learn, whereas, the newer ones got to be 20, 25, 30. It's crazy. It's fun, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's nice to go back and, have an easier time learning those characters. Although, again, this seems very difficult. But you can see, like, where they built, the Marvel vs. Capcom series and how it started with this game. Like, all the super moves, how the screen, like, flashes X whenever you throw the super move. The huge jumps, like, your characters can way over jump if you really want to. I don't recommend it. Like, for me, it's easier to not try to do those huge jump kicks and everything, but it's best just to, like, go in and kind of wail. Which maybe that's why I'm not so good at the game, because I'm not great whenever it comes to those jump attacks. But I'm rambling and digressing quite a bit, but those are my thoughts for the X-Men Children of the Atom game as far as the arcade release. I've never played that PlayStation version. I have read a few reviews of it that's not as good. Maybe I need to go back and take a look at it, even though I'm so glad that we got the Marvel vs. Capcom collection officially now for all the newer systems and for PC. I love seeing that. But we're going to go ahead and get ready to close this out with some more music before we roll that outro. Thank you once again for taking time out of your day to listen to another episode of Afterglow. I'm going to slowly be rolling out something different for the shoutouts at the end of every episode. For the good friends of the show, I've asked them all to record just a small plug, if you will. So I'll be playing one of those I've got now. We're waiting on some of the other shows to get theirs recorded and submitted in here, but we do have one that we'll play at the end. But of course, if you're looking for more stuff from me, check the show notes because I do have a link tree. The link tree includes pretty well everything. There's a link to the Discord, links to places where you can listen to the show, links to the YouTube page, which is an alternate place for you guys to listen if you like. There is a merch store, a Patreon, of course a Discord link if you want to check that out. Be sure to check out friends of the show too, like Retro Gaming Roundout, Secret Levels, and the Lost and Gone podcast. Now, as far as my show, our show logo has been done by TobyVonDoom from Secret Levels, and our music is done by Grim from the Lost and Gone podcast. And we're going to close this show out with one of our ads from another friend of the show, and like I said, hopefully these will become a regular thing.
Hello and welcome to the Reviews Brothers. It's me, Martin, and you can join me on YouTube where I have hundreds of videos covering a huge range of video game topics. I've got top 10s, hidden gems, console-focused A to Zs, as well as dedicated videos to topics like Doom mods, 3D platform games, ninja games, pirate games, and more. I cover all systems from Commodore 64 right up to modern consoles. Nothing gaming is off the table. So be sure to search for the Reviews Brothers on YouTube as well as on Instagram and TikTok for hundreds of retro and modern video game reviews.